Traders, this is Cousin Vinny coming to you from theclosingprint.com on August the 30th, 2015. In this video, we'll cover the indices, breadth, NYSE, CPC, currencies, bonds, commodities, and of course some sectors of interest like XLE. In addition, we'll also look at the IBD50 list. If you want to look at the commentary here, you can just pause this. I want to jump right into the video since it's 5:45 right now p.m. and futures are about to open. Looking at the S&P 500 for a moment, we are 6.83% off the all-time high here at 2132. We were minus 12.54% at this low at 1867. In addition, we see TLT moving lower and the moving averages turning over as well. If we're bullish, we want TLT to continue to move lower, the bonds, IEF, as well as AGG, in order for prices to continue to move higher. This is just a confirmation, one of the confirmations that we look at. Here's the New York Stock Exchange Composite, which itself was off 15.50% on Monday. It's since recuperated almost half of that. We are off by minus 8.99% off of this all-time high, not considering this recent high where we lost a 200 period moving average. We noted the MDD at 400% last week on Monday, and then the follow-up on Wednesday, Thursday, we had a 100% major accumulation day, followed by a 300% to 1 major accumulation day. So that was 10 to 1 and 30 to 1 respectively in favor of the bulls towards the ends of the week. So that looks very good for this coming week, just from the point of view of up-down volume. Just for the purposes of interest and entertainment, the Wilshire 5000 was off quite a bit as well, recovered much of the losses into the week. We have MACD histogram turning up. Momentum looks like it's going to continue to move higher unless there's a caveat or some catalyst to push prices back down. There are a number of things. Just this retracement alone was more than 50% of this high down to this low. So that's one of the reasons why we think we could see a little bit of a pullback, or the best case scenario would be a bull flag here and then a push higher. This is a chart of the Dow Jones Composite. Remember, this is 65 stocks in the utilities, industrials, and transports sectors. We had quite a rally off the lows here as well. We have the 10 period EMA right overhead. We tested that on Friday. And we have this descending trend line now that we might test as well. Note the volume. Slow still continues to move higher off of the green zone. We have a ways to go. That could be a couple more days before we hit the red zone. And we're overbought. Remember, this indicator is bound, so it can stay up here like it did back in late October, early November, when we had that previous low that we rallied off of. The bears continued to think that we're going to roll over. Circumstances are slightly different, but needless to say, this is possible as well when you have such an extreme condition like we saw last week. And of course, the Dow Jones Industrial Average, 30 stocks, remember. We have these volume by price bars that are overhead. We have the 10 period EMA where prices closed on Friday with a Dragonfly Doji. Two nice follow-through days, Wednesday, Thursday. Note the volume on Friday, slightly above average, and it was all selling. Histograms turning higher, slow still continues to move higher as well. So we'll be watching the Dow Jones Industrials very closely this week to see if it echoes anything that we may be concerned about. The Russell Weekly looking really good here. Right at the 130 period EMA, buyer stepped in, pushed this back up, more of a club, not a hammer. Resistance overhead right in this area here at 1151.30, and we have of course the 65 period moving average, the brown line as well, overhead. So we're kind of like in a pocket. We could see a push higher, another 50 points or so on the Russell. That would be a nice sign if we saw that going into the week. Note where slow stow is. That was the weekly chart. We are in the green zone, should be turning back up. MACD needs to turn and head back higher as well. That's the Russell 2000 weekly chart. The mid caps looking kind of interesting. This is the 60-minute chart. Just looking at the pattern. Got through the 10-period EMA, the 20-period, moved up to the upper Bollinger Band, came back, tested the 10-period EMA, and now it continues to grind higher. Bollinger Bands and the Keltner are moving higher, pointing in the right direction if you're bullish, and in the wrong direction if you're bearish. MACD is above the zero line. That's a good sign as well on the 60. Let's look at the daily. Looking pretty good. We tested the 10-period EMA, the magenta colored line. And we'll see if we pause there. Slow stow is pushing out of the green zone. That's a good sign. MACD histogram turning back up as well. Note that the 200-period moving average is just overhead, another 60 points higher on the mid caps. A lot of people don't watch mid caps. Keep an eye on these this week. Here is a chart of the US dollar. We had this descending pattern that turned into an ascending wedge. We broke down, we recovered, got back above the 200-period moving average, and we rallied substantially on the currencies, plus 4.15% on the week. That was 92.52, and we're closing right at 96.36. So that was a nice little rally. There's a 50-period moving average here, the green line. It's just overhead. So with the dollar higher, I would expect currencies to back off a little bit. Copper managed to push off of the lows. Not expecting a lot here. But what's more important is that crude oil, WTIC, had a very nice week towards the end. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, we had a nice reversal. Back above the 10-period EMA, the 20-period moving average. We're starting to see some signs of life on crude. We have a position in UWTI. It's a cheap 3 times bullish fund that will show you as well. Note the volume increased, slow stow pushing back up, and MACD looks like it wants to get back above the zero line. Let's look at UWTI, which you can see also had a decent day from Wednesday on. Nice volume here. 200 million shares traded on Friday. We have about an average of around 80 cents. We mentioned a few times last week. So you can have like 1,000, 5,000, 10,000 shares of this and not cost you a lot. And could see a nice appreciation over the next few days. We might see a rejection here and a pullback. Wait for a pullback if you're interested in getting into this. Maybe we'll get a pullback to around $1. Maybe halfway into Friday's candle and you get a better entry, see some bulls return. If we get above this Kirby level here, prices could scoot to the $1.80, $2 level fairly quickly. Gold a couple of weeks ago broke higher from these lows, pushed higher above the 10-period EMA, lost that, looks like it wants to regain it now at the 50-period moving average. Prices could move higher. But keep an eye on the US dollar. If the dollar continues to rally, that's probably going to put pressure on gold. Futures are a little bit lower, so keep an eye on these. Overnight, I would expect to see a test of some of these lows before we might see a move higher. This is how these sectors panned out towards the end of the week. On Friday, we saw energy, materials, technology, down to the worst performing, which was XLV. So keep an eye on energy. We'll take a look at that sector. Coal, of course, is doing better. We have a position in BTU from 2 weeks ago. We got news that George Soros was buying a position, so we stepped in around $1.30. We added around $1.70, so our average was around $1.50. And you can see that we really had a nice week on Thursday and Friday to finish. So we had a nice profit. We took some off the original position at 130. We took some off at 260. So now what we have is profits So we literally have zero risk if this continues to move higher or if it pulls back a little bit. Arch Coal was another stock that George Soros bought positions in. Keep an eye on this guy. This one really had the nice couple of 2 weeks there. The past 2 weeks were really good. We rallied off of the 50-cent level. Excuse me, we rallied off the $1.30 level here as well. Ran up to $8. It's possible that BTU could see the same thing. Note the volume, really huge there on Arch Coal. Natural Resource Partners as well. Nice little spread, triple bottom, double bottom with a little higher low. Pushing above the 50-period moving average now, and note the Kirby here as well. Slow still turning up. MACD is above the zero line. So this one's looking pretty good. Inexpensive stock. This one could run with people paying attention to this sector with big names like Warren Buffett, George Soros, and Carl Icahn getting into the mix. Cloud Peak Energy, CLD, another coal name that managed to not go out of business. Nice little bottom here around 275, pushing higher through the moving averages. Now we have the 130 period EMA overhead. Note how quickly it pushed through the Kirby here. Nice volume, slow still moving higher, MACD above the zero line. Foresight Energy, FELP, also similar pattern. Large buying here. Note the Kirby if prices push up into that level. Now obviously you don't chase this here. You wait for prices. Hopefully prices will come back to the 10-period EMA. Little pullback this week would be good, and then a push higher going into the fall and winter. PSX, this is one that Warren Buffett amassed a position in. He currently has nearly 4.5 billion in Phillips 66 for more than a year. He added, so it's looking pretty good on this one. He's also in Marathon Petroleum. You can see the buying here. Also look at RYE, the Guggenheim S&P 500 Equal Weight Energy ETF. That one's moving higher. If you don't want to buy individual stocks, this is something that you might consider taking some shares in. We don't start to reach resistance until we're up about around the $60 range. So we have about $6 to run there. Note the volume. Slow stow and MACD pushing higher. IOC, not something that I'm interested per se, but note the double bottom here where buying is starting to happen again. We traded 1.8 million shares on Friday. MACD's down below the zero line. Not crazy about that until it gets back above the zero line, but starting to see activity. We'll keep an eye on this one as well as the other names we've mentioned thus far. Tesoro is another name mentioned in the same piece that was talking about Warren Buffett and controlling positions. Note that Tesoro firmed right around the 130 period EMA. We have the 50 period overhead as well as the 10 and the 20. MACD is turning back up. We'd like to see that get back above the zero line. Slow still is turning up as well. Maybe one more cycle and we can get back above this level. Note that we bounced right here at this volume by price support bar. Holly Frontier, HFC, also mentioned. Right at the 50 period moving average. Nice bounce. Slow still is turning back up. MACD, long duration is trying to stay above the zero line. So we'll keep this on our watch list as well. And we'll look at British Petroleum, which saw some nice buying jump in here last week. 36 million shares traded Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Slow still's turning back up. MACD, we want to see that get back above the zero line. But this looks like it's starting to find buyers. We have resistance here and overhead. Perhaps prices come back and there's a better entry level for longer term positions. I still think that the RYE is a better scenario for people who don't want to buy stocks individually. You can just get in the Guggenheim fund and be exposed to energy that way. Here is the IBD50 list. We'll look at these in candle glance. Note names that are new. I think Alexion might be new. It might have dropped off, came back on. ABGO. Ozark. You can go through these later. Stars is back again. Nice bounce last week from the 115 level up to 127. So we had a nice $12 bounce there. I think Mikey was mentioning that. Cyber 5 below. This is new. It's back on the list. GPN Global Payments. I think that one's been on there for a while. MD. That one looks new. ICLR came close to a stop on Friday, but we didn't take it, and hopefully we get a push higher going into the week. We have half a position left. We took some profits on Wednesday. It followed through on Thursday and pulled back on Friday, so we'll keep an eye on ICLR. Let's look at some more. NTAS, PSA. So this list looks pretty good. Now I'll just go through the summary list and rank these by percent change, so you can take a look at those. You can pause this and write these names down. AMBA, we were looking at that, had a double top and pushed off of these levels, holding at the 130 period EMA. This one looks like it's going to start to burn some barns down again. Keep an eye on this one. Slow Stow needs to get recycle again. MACD needs to get above its signal line, but this one's looking pretty interesting. We'll keep an eye on that. Cyber, nice push off the lows. Tesoro we talked about, 5 below. Interesting little shop as far as retail is concerned. Connect the highs here. Looks like we're going to have a breakout level at almost a 3 white soldiers there. Not close to a low, but lower trend line, pushing higher above the 50, starting to get back above the volume by price bars. This is one that we'll probably look at this week. It takes out 41.47. That's probably the first target. So we're talking $2 to go, $2.50, maybe $3. MACD starting to surface again above the zero line. This one looks pretty good. I'll keep an eye on 5 below for the week ahead. SSNC, not a whole lot of a pullback considering how much the New York Stock Exchange Composite and the S&P 500 pulled back last week, as well as the NASDAQ, the previous week anyway. So we had that massive pullback, but it only pulled back from 72 down to around 64.50 before it firmed. Got all the way down to 63, found buyers, pushed back up above the 50 period moving average. Now we're above the 20. This one looks like it might turn around and surprise some people. MACD is above the zero line, so that's looking pretty good on SSNC. Ellie Mae, Mikey liked this one back here. Not sure what he thinks about it now. Came down to the 130 period EMA, the 6-month moving average. Got back above the 10 period EMA, tested it on Friday and Thursday, sitting on the 50. Looks like we could see push higher. Nice volume, and MACD's turning. Okay, I'm going to call it, make it a short night. I have a barbecue to go to. This is Cousin Vinny coming to you from theclosingprint.com. I hope this helps, and thank you if you bought my book this weekend. It's been on the blog since Saturday night late. I'm sure a lot of you went out this weekend so you didn't notice, but the book has been published. There is, if you click on this link right here, or the link on the right side of the page here, under premium, that'll take you to the same place. I'm going to change that so that it's more clear what's here. I'm working on some strategy videos that might be of interest. PDF version you add to your cart here and get the ebook for download. Again, if you purchased the book this weekend, thank you for your support. It'll keep my wife off my back, and I continue to afford to offer free blogging and setups during the week. Okay, I hope this helps. Take care. We'll talk to you on Monday.